it is time at long last, and actually maybe a little bit past time, to pot up these tomato seedlings. These early girls, this one especially, is just taking off. It's gotten a little leggy, which, you know, we don't necessarily want, but the good thing about tomatoes is you bury the stem as deep as you possibly can, so it's not gonna hurt too much. But anyway, time to get these out of here and get them into the containers that I had previously prepared. I am going to go ahead and moisten the soil, probably top them off just a little bit first, and then I will pluck these out and drop them in. But I will zoom it in so you guys can see more closely what I'm doing. And I apologize if it sounds echoey. I have searched high and low for my microphones and I have no idea where I set them last. I'm sure I'll find them soon, but it's not right now, so bear with me. But anyway, let's get this started. All right, so I thought the tray that these were sitting in would hold water, but it has holes in it, so it's not holding water. So I'm gonna see if I can move them into this one. It has buckled a little bit because it was in the greenhouse all summer last summer, so it was definitely toasty in there, but I thought that way I can bottom feed and put the water in the bottom of this tray and let it sit there, and it will help keep the soil moist, because I filled these up kind of knowing that I was going to be potting them up in a couple of weeks, but I have not watered the soil, and therefore the soil is very, very dry. And so the water just kind of ran straight through it. So I'm gonna relocate them into this container instead. We're just gonna set this guy out of the way. All right, I've made holes that are all the way to the bottom of the pots. That way the long taproot for these seedlings will properly fit in it. And now I'm ready to gently dislodge them from their holders and place them into these new pots. All right, there they are, all potted up into hopefully their last pots. They should be able to go into the ground before they need to be potted up again. So we're just going to sit back and watch them grow. All right, I thought I would move in here to do the rest of this just because it's easier to see everything than me sitting on the floor. And then in the greenhouse, I have a spot that I can do it, but it's just not a good place to put a camera to film it because the back of the greenhouse is right here. So I'm gonna do it right here in the kitchen, but I'm gonna go ahead and start some greens and then my leeks. And so some of the greens are gonna be started directly into the soil in the greenhouse, but these are the ones that are gonna go under the cold frame. And normally I have always just started them by sprinkling them into the ground around the 1st of March. And they've always done well like that until last year. I don't know what happened, but hardly anything came up. So this year, I'm going to go ahead and try starting them in here. And then if they don't do well in here, and, you know, if I don't have anything going very well by, you know, a couple weeks from now, and it's about time to start them outside, I'm just going to go buy some fresh packets that are this year's date, because these are all 23, I believe. Yes, so, and then we'll just start over. But anyway, I'm going to do 9 each of these and then 13 of the leeks. These are going to go in where the tomato bed is. And then for these, I have prize head, butter crunch, and kale. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a few seeds into each cell because I don't know what the germination rate is going to be. And then for these, I'm going to do these last. I'm going to start with the greens. So I'm going to give them all some water, and then we're going to stick them out in the greenhouse. All right, all done. So I'm going to run this out to the greenhouse, and then I'll be ready to clock back in for work. Good afternoon and welcome to my favorite spot, which you have never seen because I just started this vlog in November. And November is cold season, and so I already had my patio all cleared and all of my furniture and everything put away for winter. And since Mr. Groundhog definitely called it right this year and spring has come back early. We were supposed to be getting back into the 40s and that's all changed. And now the extended forecast, like there's a couple of days here and there in the 40s, but for the most part it's 50s and even low 60s for the foreseeable. So I am very excited about that. And so I decided to go ahead and pull the patio furniture back out about 3 weeks early and set it up so I can start spending time out here again because there is nowhere else that I would rather be. This is my absolute favorite spot in the entire world because although there are places that I would love to travel and love to see and other places I enjoy being, this is home and this is my favorite spot in my home. So I love it. I love being here. Spring has decidedly become my favorite season over these last couple of years. Something about, I think it probably started last year whenever I first started doing seed starting because it's really the kickoff to gardening season is January, February. It gives you something to look forward to during those last couple of drab months of winter. But it also kind of brings about some little extra excitement for spring because you have all of these plants and things that you've started out from seed and you get to transplant them into the garden and watch them grow. And there's something really exciting about that. And then seeing all of the new flowers spring up. I'll show you a little garden tour here in a little bit of kind of what I have. But I know I have some hyacinth. I have some hyacinth bulbs coming up over there, and I think maybe some tulips are starting to pop through. I've seen a little bit of green during my flower bed back there. I've got like a little butterfly garden up there. So I'll give you a little tour kind of what I have going on around here, but there's just nowhere else I'd rather be than sitting right here watching all of this. And I'm actually extra excited for this season because my herbaceous border, I've got a kitty cat up here. My herbaceous border I just put out in late summer. So I'm very anxious to see it bloom and mature and see how it does throughout this year. And I just planted the hyacinth and the tulip bulbs at the end, well, in the fall because they ship in the fall. So I planted those this past fall. So this is the first year for them. So I have all new flowers that I didn't have last year that are going to be blooming.
and I've kind of created a cohesive, kind of like a color scheme for my yard. Now, not everything's going to fit because like my knockout roses I bought the first year I lived here, and so they're red, and so they totally stick out like a sore thumb now, but everything else is pretty much pink, purple, and white. And so it just, I don't know, something about having that cohesion of color just makes everything even prettier. So I will give you that little tour and show you what's around, but I am honestly just very happy to be done building the garden beds and able to just sit back and relax and enjoy. So now I'm in a period of more like calm and quiet and peace. So instead of having those 3 vlogs a week where I'm just actively working and busy doing things, it's going to be a little bit more of an easy, relaxed, gentle vlogging time for the next probably several weeks. Anyhow, I'm going to stop chit-chatting and I will give you a little tour of the garden. Here are my hyacinths peeking through, and I finally just started noticing a couple of tulip bulbs starting to follow. So we've got, I believe 3 are the only ones that I've seen so far, but this end also does get the most sun because as the sun continues to travel in that direction, this back part is more shaded. But hyacinth and tulips coming up for their very first season in my little miniature herbaceous border here. And then we have, these are yarrow that are coming back. I don't remember for sure what this is, but I have everything written down in my little book inside, so I'll have to go look. And then I will put up on the screen here what that is. This back here is Russian sage, but I don't see any activity out of it just yet. And this one is another one that I can't remember for sure what it is, but I do see a little bit of green coming through right here. And then I do also have some asters planted in here too, which I have not seen any activity out of those just yet. And then my poor little lavender, this one has definitely petered out to nothing, so I will have to get another lavender plant and replace that one this year, and it needs a top off of soil. This lavender was new last year and it is looking exceptionally well. And then back in here is where I will have zinnia seeds, and I'm getting a special like romantic mix, which is all pink and white. And then I picked up some pink primrose that I'm going to put right in here because they are a pretty short, low-lying plant. And then, of course, my garden, which if you've seen my recent vlogs, you are very well acquainted with, although I did make a little bit of a change, so I'll go ahead and share that as well. I decided to take the extra arch off and just leave this one because they didn't match and I just didn't like the way it looked. So I'm not going to order a second one. And then the one that I do already have that my best friend sent to me is now right here in front of the greenhouse. I don't know for sure if I'll leave it there or if I might. I'm contemplating moving it up there because that clematis is massive and that trellis is probably not really big enough for it anymore. So I may move it up there and kind of dig up the clematis and relocate it to go up over the arch. But I also don't know if I want to disturb it. So I haven't made any decisions yet. But if not, then I will probably use this to hang like some sweet feed for the birds. These 2 little shepherd's hooks here are for hummingbird feeders. So could potentially just use this for another little bird feeding spot, especially if I took the bottom rung off of those to make it shorter. I don't know if I'll add it back because then it'll be like super tall compared to the greenhouse, but if I do, then that just means that it'll be harder for Miss Emily to bother birds while they're eating their food. And then also, this little guy is new. That is my compost bin. And I initially wasn't going to buy anything pre-made because I had a couple of like freebie totes with holes drilled in the bottom that I used for compost. But I envisioned this being wider this direction than it actually is. And I thought I would have room to put compost and then still have a couple of pots. And I just don't. I'm actually going to do 3 pots here now instead of 2 because I kind of spontaneously bought some tomatillo seeds and I'm going to grow some tomatillos now. And so 1 pot is going to be reserved for that, and then the other 2 will have tomatoes. So then I no longer had room for my compost bins, and I didn't really want to just put them in the yard because they would kill the grass. So this guy obviously is open underneath, and so I don't have to worry about the grass dying, and I can kind of scoot it to mow underneath of it or even weed eat underneath of it if I don't want to move it. So he was about $70, and I will link that one below too if you are interested. And then my solution for the other climbing needs that I have is I have bought 2 little trellises that are like dome shaped, but they're tall. I think they're about 6 feet tall. And I will link those and also pop a picture up here so you can see what I'm talking about. But rather than arching those over the pathway, I'll probably just stick them in the back. And especially since the one other concern that I have with this garden, since it only gets about 7 to 8 hours of sunlight during the best of the summer, is if I put too much up on these trellises, then whatever's growing in this bed over here, which is currently bell peppers and squash is what I have planned, but I'm debating swapping those because I feel like the green beans actually do better than the squash with a little bit less sunlight. So I might switch those, but for the time being, that is what we have going on there. And I'm definitely concerned about light and making sure that I don't create too much shade. So there goes Miss Emily. And then let me move on and show you what's up here. All right, I've already talked about the clematis, which I honestly still need to just cut that back and pull off the dead stuff before the green starts to sprout, which I've not seen any come through yet. But these little dead guys back here are phlox, which this one's actually dead. It died at the end of summer, so I do need to go get another one. And now I am saving everything from Lowe's because they guarantee their plants. So if one dies like that, I can go and get another one and not have to purchase another one. So I will probably share, if I can remember to do it later on, because I'm outside right now, I'm not going in for a little while, but I will share my little like kind of gardening book that I have inside with all of my stuff in it. And then this right here is Shasta daisies. So they're starting to green up and look good. And I've seen a little bit of green in here too. These are Coreopsis. And then these two little things right here are butterfly bushes. And then we have some dianthus, which are pink dianthus here. This is another thing that is a little off from my color scheme because it is like those tiger lilies. And I believe this one is like reddish orange. And then everything over here just mirrors the other side. So we've got more Coreopsis, more Shasta daisies, more phlox. And then on the ends over here, one here and one down there, are peonies. And this peony finally just bloomed last year for the first time, and it only had one flower. So it should have quite a bit more this year. And then this one will not bloom this year because the one that had been there died, and so I replanted it last year. So this will only be the second year for the peony when it comes up. But peonies are my absolute favorite flower, so I'm excited to see that. It was a real delicate white, like almost pinkish color on the flower. So what you think, Miss Emily? You want to see some peonies too this year? Then let's go check out the rest, huh? So this little thing right here, if you ever want something that's going to just grow and come back year after year, plant chives, because I don't even tend to this thing anymore. I forget about it half the time and I don't water it, and these things, like, they just don't die. So that is what that is. I believe they were garlic chives, and I wish they bloomed longer than they did, or than they do, but so you don't get blooms very long out of the year, but when they do, they're a really pretty pinkish purple color. And they've actually, so I guess so many of them, the seeds had dropped off, and now we have them growing all along back in here too. And then this is a rose bush. And then last but not least, we have strawberries and herbs. This bed you can't really see much because I still have those hostas and coral bells in there that I need to go plant, that I dug up from where the shed is now sitting. And then this is strawberries, which I have a couple that kind of like overflowed out of this thing while it was sitting on the, was sitting over there. And it's kind of in the rocks now, so I need to dig those up and stick them in. But that's my strawberry beds. And then I was trying to figure out what to do with this bird bath. And I think I've decided I will probably just leave it here. And then all of these pots are going to have herbs as well. So, because I'm going to have a lot of herbs started from seed this year. And then this little shepherd's hook here is the one thing I still have not quite decided where I'm putting it or what I'm hanging from it, but we will figure that out. But that is it. That is the tour of my garden in very, very, very early spring stages of starting to come back to life. So, Miss Emily, are you eating my chives? Hi, baby girl. Say, I love being outside with Mama too. And this little old lady also likes to be outside with Mama. And now I'm going to have to uproot her a little bit so I can get comfortable and read my book.